Welcome, UI5 community.
Hello and welcome. Yeah, this year we have again a new UI5con keynote for you, and we have the motto "Connecting Innovations." And with that, up to you.
And I don't want to be impolite, so there will not be much small talk today. Peter said we have so much content in only 30 minutes, so let's directly jump into the topics that we talk about. And we do not only connect innovations, we also connect to last year's UI5con, where we shared already news and also said and give you some promises about topics that we want to deliver and intend to deliver. And now you want to see whether we have in fact delivered them. So we will share this later on. But Peter, are you confident?
Yeah. So let's go and let's get started and see what has happened. So again, this year we organize our achievements, what we have done in this pattern of the layered architecture of UI5 evolution. Therefore, we have again the modular core, the rendering and controls, the program model and the tooling. And the modular core, I want to just give you some insight on what has happened. One thing what has happened was the jQuery modernization. We switched to the jQuery 3.5 version here. And I mentioned this explicitly because, I say we are working on the removal of the jQuery. This is really a fact to make our core free of that. But still, for those who are using that, we have a modern jQuery underneath available, and not the insecure old version. So this was a major step forward. And next to that, we also continue to work explicitly on the asynchronous loading and the asynchronous APIs, fragment loading, component loading, view loading. All the things have been changed over the last year to make this really possible to load this asynchronously and to have a proper performant booting performance. Next to that, we also, I said it, component loading is also asynchronously for sure, but we also innovated a component. We have inner component routing and stuff like, or nested component routing achieved. And also a lot of other things, the create content which became asynchronous. You can now return a promise. To make also here really the performance of the component creation and loading better and all that stuff. And this is also part of that what happened in the core. And besides that, there was one topic, Stefan, yours, because you worked hard on that, right?
Yes, you might now wonder, hey, the colleagues talk about no longer supporting i11. Is that really an outstanding achievement? And in some way right, but on the other hand, if you now imagine that we work in a kind of a big enterprise with so many customers and so many products, to really decide that we do no longer support i11 was really a hard amount of work. You have to listen to a lot of people, to a lot of products, and also see what are the mitigations that we have to take. However, we finally made it happen, and we did not make it happen because we are lazy guys, but we made it happen because we want to innovate. We want to provide you with the best possible UI framework ever, and this is somehow not possible if you carry along all these old i11 features, what are then the least common denominator that you should shoot for. Now we are free, we are untouched, and let's see what we make out of that one.
Yeah, and the next layer, the rendering and the controls, you heard that already, semantic rendering. It's so important for us to switch to this new semantic rendering, the rendering version 2, renderer version 2, to benefit from a better rendering performance, to optimize what is being updated on the screen and use DOM patching to do that. And it also opens us other opportunities on the long run to better have a performance, and we have even more ideas how to improve that more, that the rendering becomes also asynchronous when updating and destroying content, stuff like that. So this is also in the game here. Another part what we have is CSS variables. You may remember last year I showed the CSS variables here at the UI5con on stage to show what is possible with that you can do theming across for different technologies like web components and UI5. And what we are planning to do and what we are preparing right now is for 192.0 to make the CSS variable part of the library CSS, the standard themes of a UI5 library, and so that you can benefit for your custom controls to really use that for theming. And this is also a great step forward. We have to thank to the i11 investment, what you have done, that we can really use that, and that we don't have to support the i11 for that anymore. Another part is the asynchronous parameters API. If some of you have already used the theme parameters and you load them, they were always, if they came, the request to them came too early. A synchronous request, the theme parameters JSON, this was always a bad thing. This has been also enhanced to have an asynchronous API now available, which allows you to not block the rendering or any other thing happening on the screen while loading these theme parameters. And there is another topic, the web components.
Still one addition to what you said. I think this was really a kind of a frequent performance problem that applications might have caused in doing that not absolutely right. And now with this API, so we also removed a kind of an obstacle for a lot of you stumbled across, let's call it that way. And all 3 points together are also an enabler for UI5 web components. So web components are a new, not so new, but now really, let's say, current standard that is widely used and adopted by browsers and supported by browsers. And we said we embrace web standards in UI5 and innovate UI5. And now we want and we will invest our future control development into web components. So web components have a really clear API, they are easy to use, and they also fit into our thinking that overall UI5 is a framework. However, it should also be a kind of a modular toolbox where the pieces can be used in as much as possible use cases, so to speak. And having our controls exposed as web components is good for UI5, but it's also good for other use cases that we will show you later on too.
UI5 is Swiss knife for your work. The other thing what has happened is in the programming model part. So in the UI5 was live around April, Andreas Kunz and I showed the TypeScript support here, what is possible in an early stage. And this has been also enhanced and made available for you that you can use these types for development. Besides that, with the TypeScript, we also want to empower to use really ES6 plus APIs like the ES modules, like ES classes and stuff like this. Yeah, for sure we could have used already ES6 APIs with our polyfills and stuff like that. But now it's even possible to get a next level since we have also a compile time or transpile time aspect running with that and make it possible for us to use this, this programming model to benefit from that.
Good. Metadata-driven UI. We talked about that in the past too. We had in focus that we want to improve the developer efficiency. That was mainly our ask and achieve UI consistency and some other benefits. Still, there are also new trends now outside. You have heard them most likely. This kind of low-code, no-code approaches that become more and more relevant. Also, analysts talk about that frequently. So we look into times where developers are short. So to enable our customers, to enable partners to really develop, low-code, no-code is a topic. And here we have also already really good assets that we just also have to connect and make this possible. And this will also be the focus topic, overall metadata-driven controls and UIs in the keynote tomorrow. And also you will also hear that here we also push stronger towards open UI5 in that segment. And the next topic, again, connects to what I previously talked about, the UI5 web components. So we do not only want to provide UI5 web components for other frameworks, we also want to drink our own champagne and use it for ourselves. And with that, the UI5 web components retrofit obviously is key and also one of the promises that we made last year.
I prefer to drink my Coke. So, the next topic is the UI5 tooling, and here we just need to say thank you for everyone also giving this good feedback on the UI5 tooling. I think we are really heading in the right direction with that, what we are doing. That's why we also say adoption is key for the UI5 tooling, working in extensibility to make it possible for us all to shape this development experience together is also another important key pillar here. And now with the ecosystem, this UI5 community GitHub organization becoming a central place, we will also be able to create templates or generators for our scaffolding solution. We have now the full power at hand with the UI5 tooling to benefit from really a modern development experience.
Okay, now I have to stop Peter. I'm a bit the timekeeper, so we have a developers conference and we want to see code and we want to see demos. And handing over to Peter, we now see the grayish areas now in a demo session. Go on.
Okay, thank you. So what wouldn't be better than starting from the console? And I now opened the wrong one. Yeah, I need to open this one. So this already exposes that I did not prepare properly for having the right console running, but I want to have an empty console, and this, I want to show you one thing. I talked about scaffolding, and Marius will also have a session later on about the easy UI5 generator. In April or in Feb, we even started to work together to open up the easy UI5 generator to be able to consume generators from the UI5 community, which has been built by us, and therefore I use that here to start the easy UI5, and now I get a list of templates. And since today we have a fourth template here available, the generator UI5 TS app, which is the starting point for TypeScript applications for UI5. As a name for the application, I specify demo, and as a namespace, I use UI5con. I use the OpenUI5 as a framework, and I want to use now a preview version, 92.0 snapshot. So for the TypeScript stuff, 191 is already okay, but for the retrofit I will show later on, I need the snapshot version. So let's get started, generate my template. And I open immediately the Visual Studio Code. So what we see here now is a standard UI5 application which has been created. It comes with the UI5 YAML file, the package.json, so the UI5 tooling is already in place. Inside the package.json, we see already that we have TypeScript support by adding the OpenUI5 TS types ESM, which are available here. Inside of my source folder here, this is a bit different. We see that also later on. Andreas Kunz has a session about all the details, the TypeScript, how this is organized. We have the assets for the TypeScript development. For example, here the component being developed completely in ES, with ES modules and ES classes, having static metadata inside, and the class syntax. But I want to look a bit more into how to use it. Immediately after we have created that application, we can start the development server with the UI5 tooling. So in this case, it starts up this demo application. We have a UI5 TS Hello World application. Andreas shows that later on in his session. And this is the foundation for this generator. So what I want to show you is that I extend now programmatically the application with a different button to show you the power of the TypeScript part. So in the view, to just give you an insight, we have a message page. This is what's being displayed here. And there is in the buttons aggregation a UI5 this say hello button. And in the controller, I will now go and add the additional button programmatically. So this get view, I get the reference to the message page. It's with the ID page. And I need to cast it now, message page. And you see everywhere is this code completion. And it also imports then this message page automatically. So, and we assign it here now to this const, and I say page.add, and I get also recommendations like this add button here, and I can now add a button, control new button, and it selects me, it imports the sub-m button for me, or imported the comments button, but I want the sub-m button. The deprecated button was provided first, but here now I get also in the settings then the suggestions for the properties, events, and stuff like this. And I can say hello UI5con here, save. And after saving, here the hello UI5con button appears on the right-hand side. What I can now also do to make it fully functional is to add the press event. Also, I get the suggestion for that. And map here the local say hello function to the event handler of this button. And with that, finally, hooray, the button is also working properly here inside. So as I said, we also have the UI5 Web Components retrofit. And what I want to do is now I want to import the UI5 Web Components retrofit libraries. Maybe some of you have discovered yesterday already in our OpenUI5 repository that we have published 3 new libraries, SubUI WebC Common, WebC Main, WebC Fiori. And the common is the foundation part, the basic wrappers, the base classes for that. In the main, we have the bread and butter controls, and in Fiori, we have all the Fiori-related controls inside. So, but now let's look onto how to use them. I just can write UI5 add, and this will come with 192.0 then in the release for you. And then you can write SAP UI WebC.main, for example. Now, the UI5 tooling will install the main library for me here inside the libraries. And I can now start to use this library. So let's go to npm start to start my development server again. And what I want to do now is I want to change the application that I have a UI5 button, a M button, and a Web Components button side by side. So let's change the message page to a page and remove the button aggregation here. Now I can go back to my controller, and in my controller I cast now the page as a page, the sub-M page. And here in the page, now I say the add button is not a valid aggregation, so I need to use the add content aggregation for that. Saving, and my hello UI5con button should be back, and here he is. So let's add the second button. To do that, I add a vertical layout. And in the vertical layout, we use the shorthand notation for the content having an array inside to put the buttons later on in. And I copy this one. Oops. And I want to put the Web Components button next to it, but now I put the layout here. So as the button is already imported as a sub-M button, I need to manually write it because the short form of auto-importing doesn't work then to select it. SAP UI Web C main button, and the semicolon I add. And now I can say new Web C button, and I add the text and the press. And now I see, oh, error. Press is not being recognized as a function, so I need to change it to click because the event is named click for the Web C button. And if I have that now, I see, hooray, 2 buttons. They look similar. Good. This is good for us because that's what we want to achieve. And here you see this is the UI5 button. It's the custom attribute, the custom tag here. And we have here the normal regular sub-M button side by side. We can also put new things, new web components aside. Maybe the calendar. Let's use the one from sub-C main and just put it here next to it. And it's being displayed underneath. So here we see also the calendar below. What I want to do, and as a last thing of the demo, is to show you here inside the page that I can also use the web component wrappers for sure declaratively. So I need to add the WebCM and say this is SAP UI WebC main. And now I can use the WebC main namespace and say button, for example, and say text declarative button save, and hooray, it's also there. Wow, isn't this great? So all the things are fitting very, very well together. UI5, the programming model, all the things, and with the UI5 web components inside, data binding, all that stuff would potentially work in that. But Stefan, there is more, right, with the web components? You can,
yes, sure.
The web components are also used productively already.
Exactly. So, oops. Now let me quickly see the web components demo. So what you have seen is now the web components as part of UI5, but we also talked about general reuse. And how can we do it better than with a major SAP product? So we can show you now the homepage from SuccessFactors, and this is really an application that is used by millions of peoples and users. So basically, the colleagues thought, okay, this thing that we now look at is less a web application but a web page. Therefore, having UI5 web components with the enterprise qualities together with a kind of HTML kind of page is the ideal approach technically. And you can now see an overview. There's the header that you know. It's similar to the Fiori design. We have the quick actions that are a bit more colorful. And below, you find cards and integration cards that you would also know from UI5, but they are basically now web components. And you have nice connection. You can also click here, and this launches now a real UI5 applications for the transactional task. So that really means things fit together. And now, if it would be Peter's user, I would be tempted to click here, but as we use a demo, it won't work. But it would be now interesting to see that. Anyways, let's look into a card, and you can also see now what is new. Basically, by the way, you can now have also multiple actions directly on the cards, and also this kind of primary action that is showed here. But we now look into the goal planning, because this nicely allows to see the web components in use, as the page is not so complex. And I open now the HTML console. I select the card basically here, and now it's a bit weird because of that setup here with the good. So you now see here UI5 card as a web component, and you can also see, if you look close, that inside the card we use icons, and also this plus is a button. So if we now scroll down, also no surprise, you see now the UI5 icon that is now highlighted here, and you can also see the UI5 button. And if I now scroll down a bit, you also see inside the card a list, and also no surprise, you now see the UI5 list web component, and if you open that one, you can also then see the individual list items here. That means with that demo, you really should take away that now the web components are used in primary products, are really product ready, and also you can see here easily what nice and clear APIs web components are offering, and therefore it's really a good and worthwhile investment to look into them. However, now while Peter switches, we want also to give you an outlook in the future. So we are now in 2021, obviously, and there will be a UI5con in 2022. Ideally, a combined one, not only on air, but also with some people on stage. But that's not the primary topic. So what is coming new? Again, maybe quickly here, you find again this pattern, the layered architecture, because that is a theme, a motto that is ongoing, and we want to continue that. It's about evolution, it's about innovation, and now we look into the details, what is coming inside.
For sure, the investment in the UI5 tooling will continue to stay, because we show and see the big progress of getting this modern development experience together with the UI5 tooling and combining all the things inside that. And therefore, we need to continue in the adoption. We need to continue the extensibility, the ecosystem, do that together, we as a community, to build templates, to create samples for each others, and to enhance the scaffolding finally. But there is more in the framework.
Yep, you know, one thing, okay, we talk about strict CSP compliance, that's security, that's maybe not such a sexy topic, but still it's a really important one and becoming more important. Take, for instance, the Netherlands, that they have a kind of a digital services by the ministry. I think Lotius is the name. And you can only offer applications into that digital services as an authority or as an, in example, hospital, if they are strict CSP compliance and do support strict CSP compliance. So we have to do something. On the other hand, what we have to do fits really quite well into our innovation roadmap. So we have to work on asynchronous API. We should deprecate the synchronous one because they are not compliant. And also we look into semantic rendering. And also here we said in the past, hey, inline styles is really a problem for UI5 to really be compliant here, to avoid them. But now with semantic rendering, we can also get rid of inline styles, so we can really become fully CSP compliant. And also we have a good argument with security that pushes all the application and application teams to really embrace now the framework innovations.
We had really also a discussion on GitHub on an OpenUI5 issue on this inline style topic, but with the semantic rendering we now really found a solution how we can really make that possible. But the other topic, which is also coming from our heart, is now to make the bootstrapping of UI5 really comparable to others. And especially here, we have a lot of pieces already available under the hood. We just need to combine them properly. And there's the modular or the minimalistic core in the modular core area where we need to rewrite these parts to really only load that what is needed to give you earlier the possibility at hand that you can do something and write on work with the DOM and stuff like that in a pretty early phase, and not only wait with a blank white screen until something is loaded finally. Together with the common CSS, also one thing I teased out last year a bit as an idea on where we're going to go, is that we have a possibility to have a very, very lightweight CSS which can be embedded next to the script into the page, which brings already fonts, matrix, colors, variables to allow you to use them to do a proper styling and theming of the content, and that the page itself already looks properly. So having that together, and hopefully next year on UI5con we show that, like we did for the TypeScript and for the UI5 Web Components Retrofit this time, to you how this new Bootstrap and the strict CSP compliance looks like.
I'm really convinced that this will happen because you hear how enthusiastic Peter is about the topic, so that's always helpful if you want to achieve something here. Good, so what do we want besides the concrete topics? And you have already heard about bootstrapping. That's about more speed in the sense of a better performance. What we also want is more speed in development to make you more productive, that you get better samples, the better templates and better tools around it. So more speed in the development process and more speed for the framework performance. But also very important, a topic that we neglected a bit in the past.
And this also comes then together to get even more fun, because all of us, we would like to have fun when developing things. This is one of the essential pieces to make at the end something very good. And therefore, all these things what we do with the investment of making your life easier, of making our life backwards also easier than providing this framework, this is all the fun what we can have together to create something better than last year without any compromise.
Exactly. So you will get all qualities from UI5 as up to now, and with more fun and more speed.
Finally, this is what we as UI5, we all together
stand for you and the...
Check.
Exactly.
Don't forget.
Good. So
with that, we would like to thank you very much to listen to the keynote. Enjoy the UI5con. A lot of great content is inside.
Yeah. Learn, connect, and looking forward to see you in as many as possible sessions, and also tomorrow in the keynote again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.